are joined by our next guest as well, a man who played in the major leagues for just 19 seasons, no big deal. Two-time All-Star, of course, member of the 1981 Dodger World Series winning team, member of the Dodger broadcast team forever and ever, Mr. Rick Monday. Rick, it's good to have you here. Thank you so much.
Nice to see you. I would like to. I would just like to thank the weatherman. First of all, it's not raining; it's blue skies, and evidently you guys are through talking with Oral. It's been a long time since I've seen Oral. We get off the airplane. Sunday night? What is it? No, it was Wednesday night. We get off the airplane.
Yeah, about 7:30 at night.
Yeah.
8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, so we've been bonding for the last number of days on the road.
30 hours or so apart.
Now it comes down to I've always said this, and I don't know what you guys have been talking about in the past, but you put Los Angeles and New York on anything. I don't care if it's a tiddlywinks contest. Mm-hmm. There's something that's just a little extra flair, and I think too with the Dodgers and the Yankees. I grew up in Santa Monica. I did not favor the New York Yankees to begin with as a kid. And the reason is because every Saturday morning you're looking at the broadcast and the game of the week, what's going to happen. And it seemed like every time you turned it on, it was the Yankees playing against somebody. And I started to root for the underdog because I got tired of seeing the Yankees over and over. So then you get older, you get bigger, and now you get a chance to go in the World Series. And we lost to them in '77. We lost to the Yankees in '78. And then the incentive for us in 1981 during the playoffs is before the final game in Montreal that was originally scheduled to play was rained out. We knew that the Yankees had already defeated the Kansas City Royals, and it was going to be the Yankees in the World Series, and we have a chance now to right the ship because we'd had a bad taste in our mouth for a number of years after dropping the 2 years in a row, back-to-back, 77, 78. So it meant more for us, and then finally we beat an extremely talented team in the Montreal Expos, and we fly to New York, and the World Series started the next night. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to celebrate, but I will say one thing. It's not a particularly long flight from Montreal to New York, but boy, was that some kind of party.
I bet it was. Well, you skipped over one part of the reason you got to play the Yankees in the 1981 World Series. We were talking with Mr. O'Malley a minute ago. Blue Monday in Montreal, of course, you hit a home run in the ninth inning to give your team a 2-1 lead. We so quickly, when Freddie hit that home run last year, immediately go back to Kirk Gibson. But there's also these iconic Dodger home runs in the postseason. You hit one of them, and going around with your fist in the air. What does it feel like to be the guy that hit that home run?
You're one of, at the time, 25. The rosters were not 26 as they are at the present time. The reason I was able to hit the home run is that our ball club was good enough to get us to Game 5 in that championship series. I wear that 81 ring every day because it reminds me of the 24 other teammates that we had in a journey that was you dream about as a kid. To understand, first of all, I remember when in Pony League, I'm 14, and my coach, Joe Misbrenner, and I played for the Phils in Santa Monica in the Pony League. And he goes, hey, let's take a walk. It's during batting practice. And he says, how would you like to play professional baseball? And that's like asking a kid, hey, how would you like an hour in an ice cream store? And I said, I'd love to. He says, you have a chance. He says, I want you to play in this other league over here. And I said, Coach, those guys are like 18, 19 years age. And I said, that's how you're going to get better. But I remember as a kid having the dream and turning on television of what it was like to play in a World Series. And then you have the opportunity as a player to actually be there. You're wondering if your mom's going to come in and wake you up and say, hey, Ricky, it's time to go to school, because obviously it was a dream. But to be there, there's a close bond. And this ring reminds me of all the teammates that we had and the effort that we have. But if we go back originally to day one in spring training in 1981, we could look around the locker room and say, this team is not going to be together for very much longer because of age of players, because of contracts of players. And then if you look around, Steve Sachs, for example, they were talking to a little bit earlier, we could see that Steve was coming on and he was going to take over the second base position. So we had all this young talent that was coming up, and that was one of the keys to the Dodgers' success. Is it developing, first of all, finding and then developing players, not just how to play the game from a physical standpoint, but how to play the game from a mental standpoint and emotional standpoint with the expectations you take the field to win.
I do remember exactly what you said. Winning the Super Bowl, it was the best, worst feeling ever.
Yeah.
Best because we won. The worst is this was our last game together.
Mm-hmm.
This team is going to break up or it's going to change. It will never be this good, so I understand that. Moving on to the second point. Can you scene set that home run, Blue Monday? Do you remember what he threw you, what the count was, what the score was?
I remember watching, and that final game was Fernando Valenzuela and Ray Burris. Burris was pitching for the Expos.
Who shut you out early in the series, correct?
Yeah, 3 days before shut us out,
Yeah.
I mean in fine fashion. So we saw Rogers warming up in the bullpen. Now, the Expos have a plane at the airport, and the Dodger plane was at the airport. One of them was going to head to New York.
Wow.
So Sunday's game is rained out. We play on Monday, and a lot of people had plans to either fly out of town because the final game was going to be on Sunday, or they had to get back to work. So we took it as a moral victory and said, hey, there's not a whole lot of people here. I mean, it was 30-some, but it was not a jam-packed. So it comes down to a 1-1 game. Both Fernando and both Ray Burris are pitching just a terrific game. Comes down to the ninth inning. And I remember Ron Say hit a ball to left field that I thought when it left the bat, and it's cold, I thought it had a chance to get out of the ballpark for a home run. Well, Tim Raines came in front of the warning track to catch the ball. And we had said before the game, this is not going to be one on a home run because it's going to be base hits. And then Rogers is pitching. He fell behind 3-1. He was a low ball pitcher. I'm a low ball hitter. Did not handle the ball up here very well. And he got behind 3 balls and 1 strike. A hitter will love 3-1. Pitchers don't particularly care for it. But he threw a pitch and he got it a little elevated. I hit the ball and I knew it was hit really well, but I lost sight of the ball. And I saw Andre Dawson, the center fielder, start to go over to right center. He kept going, and I thought, well, maybe it's off the wall because they had very high fences there. And then finally, I did see a glimpse of the ball as it disappeared right behind the fence. And then, as you were talking about, I got caught in the middle of a dance. I didn't know all the routines. And I almost fell down between first and second base.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. But
wow.
It comes down to the bottom of the ninth. They had the tying and winning run on base. And go to the bullpen, and, Bobby Welch comes in, and Davey Lopes had to make a good play at second base and throw to Garvey to finally get that last out. And then we were headed to the airport after celebrating a little bit more. But
the next day you're playing again?
Yeah, in New York.
In New York. Wow.
And finally punched your ticket to beat him in 1981.
Wow.
Well, I tell you what, it's a lot better to watch the crowd in New York as they're losing than it was in 77 and 78. But if we look at 81, quite frankly, if we go back, we lost the first 2 games in the playoffs to the Astros in a walk-off home run, and then the next night was a walk-off base hit. And then in the World Series, we get down, we had to win 2 in a row in Montreal, and then we start the World Series. Remember, too, we lost each of the first 2 games of that series, and then came back and won it.
In New York, in Yankee Stadium, of course. And, an iconic moment in Dodger history, Blue Monday, you hitting that home run.
Great name.
You're also a part of one of the iconic moments in baseball history. And of course, you were playing with the Chicago Cubs at the time. You're in right field. The Cubs happen to be in Dodger Stadium. And I know it's a story you've told a lot, and I never get tired of hearing it. And there's a beautiful piece of art here kind of commemorating that moment. You snatched the flag out of the hands of a couple of guys that were out there to burn the flag, and you became a legend of Dodger baseball as a Cub at that moment.
It was kind of weird. I was only about, I think it was 5 years removed from serving the Marine Corps Reserve program when it happened. And there had already been a pitch thrown in the bottom of the 4th inning. And the visiting team, I'm in center field, and you can hear something that's just out of whack. You understand if somebody's in your office.
Oh, yeah.
That feels your office.
Yes.
And you get a sound that's coming from an area that shouldn't be coming from.
That didn't belong there, right.
Yeah. And so that was my first alert, and I was mad because they're on the field. Well, guys that come on the field before, is it because they don't like you? They're trying to win a bet, or they're drunk, whatever it may be. And I saw that one of them had something under his arm, and he spread it out like it was going to be a picnic blanket, and it proved to be an American flag. And I was angry. It was the way I was brought up, reinforced, obviously, by 6 years of Marine Corps reserves. But then I saw that somebody had something shiny. It was a big can of lighter fluid. I mean, the big can of lighter fluid. And the wind blew the first match out. And James Rourke took the photo, and he was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, that the guy thought he was putting the second match to the flag. And that's when I scooped it up. They can't burn it if they don't have it. And my question was, at that instant, is it on fire? Because I could feel the moisture from the lighter fluid. And Tommy Lasorda was not yet the manager of the Dodgers. He was the third base coach. So I took the flag and took it in, gave it to Doug Rao, a left-handed pitcher with the Dodgers, who came out of the third base dugout. And Tommy Lasorda passed me, saying just about everything that a longshoreman might utter on a bad day. So it was a few weeks later, the Dodgers came in, and I requested that flag. And Peter O'Malley made sure that Al Campanis presented me with that flag, and it's something that very proud to have. And my wife, Barbara Lee, and I, we go around the country and use this flag as kind of promotions for and to raise money for military charities. So the very symbol that they were attempting to desecrate that afternoon at Dodger Stadium still has a life to it, and we've been able and been privileged enough to touch some lives and help people.
I'm having one of those moments, Travis. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, that was you? Yeah. I've seen that a million times. That was you.
Yeah, that's one that could run real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, you can relate to that when you see video.
Yes.
Things. Well, we go back even before a video where you do the flashcards. The
flip book.
Yeah, the
right.
stick figures.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
You can do it that way too.
Rick, I've always wanted to ask you this. It's the first time I've ever had the opportunity to meet you, and I'm a baseball card guy. And they had this series, I think it was in 1985, where they had all the number one draft picks. They recreated their original baseball cards. Not only were you the first pick in the draft, you were the first pick in the first draft.
Yeah.
Like in 1965, before there wasn't a draft where you kind of went around, you were the first pick in the first draft.
The very first pick.
The very first pick.
Wow.
Well, now they cover it live on both radio and television. Back when I was drafted, Pony Express went through and dropped off the mail and said, hey, but we were actually in the College World Series at Rosenblatt Stadium. We were in uniform at Arizona State. We were in uniform down the right field line waiting for a game to be completed, and then we were going to play that night. We eventually won the College World Series, but that night, how we found out about it, we knew what time. I had been told, hey, you're going to be the number one pick. Nobody understood really how it was going to work.
Wow.
What if you didn't want to sign with that team? Because in the past, you could sign with any team. And I came close to signing with the Dodgers years and years earlier out of Santa Monica High School when Tommy Lasorda was a scout. He had my mother and I to dinner, and 3 different times he had a contract in front of my mom. My mom was single parent, had pen in hand the first time because we were big Dodger fans growing up in Santa Monica. She had the pen in hand and put it down and said, no, Rick needs to go to college. If he gets injured, if he can't make it, he has something to fall back upon. Tommy took the contract back, crossed out the number, put it in front of her again. She had pen in hand the second time, about to sign it, put it down. He's going to go to college. And Tommy took the contract back the third time, put a number in. My mother would have to work for years in order to reach that number. And my mother said, nope, I'm not negotiating. This is Rick's future. So I wound up going to Arizona State and then eventually come back to the Dodgers in Tommy's first year as the full-time manager. But if we look at that first draft, nobody knew really how it was going to work. Because in the past, the only way you could get out of a contract was either get traded, quit, or pass away.
Right.
The 3 options.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Rick Monday here, of course, a longtime member of the Dodger broadcast team. We talked about 2 iconic moments as well. Rick, it's a real pleasure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so much for doing
Blue
this.
Monday.
Good to see you. This guy to my left, we tried to bring him in when he was wet behind the ears, and we saw something that was kind of special inside Oral Hershiser, the way that he prepared, the way that he paid attention, and he came on, and we knew that he was going to fit into the fold of the team, which doesn't always happen.
Sure.
But this guy to my left has represented himself and obviously created a wonderful career. And you look at this event.
It's amazing.
This event really kind of symbolizes what Oral did in his major league career. Very well planned out, understood what was going to happen. He reminds me a lot of Don Sutton because Sutton would actually hold a press conference with the media the day he was going to pitch.
Really?
Normally, the starting
pitch,
pitcher, and normally the starting pitcher, you just wait and say hello twice tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, instead of, but that was not the case. But the Bulldog, we give him a lot of grief only because we love him.
Mo's been a mentor of mine since the very beginning, and it's never been a dull moment, and it's never been not a life lesson.
Nor will it be a dull moment.
And it continues to be my mentor as I sit here and having the moment like you.
That's
Good to see you guys.
You're the guy.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rick.
You're the
Appreciate it a great deal.